So last week after our sittings, someone asked me, she's not here tonight, she asked me, how do you practice acceptance when there's something that is causing harm? And it's a real common sense question. You know, we sit and we accept. And we accept things that go on in our mind. And sometimes you have pleasant thoughts and sometimes unpleasant. Sometimes peaceful thoughts and sometimes even violent thoughts. And with equanimity, there's that sense of observing them all without reaction. The approach is the same. And let it be and accept it. It's just part of the human condition. And I stay put. I just stay put. It passes and then, life goes on. But that's okay when you're sitting. That's the right approach when you're sitting. What about when you're walking around? If you were to see somebody, mugging, beating up, or stealing the purse of someone else, you wouldn't just say, something to accept. I'll accept that harm. Let it be. That would be sort of, accessory to the crime, we say. You're almost sort of contributing to that. So sometimes accepting a bad situation is a way of actually contributing to it. And we can say that with something very, shocking, like violence in front of us, or something that's subtle and long-term, or the climate situation. Accept it. And then long-term, your grandchildren one day will say, why did you accept it? Look at our lives. So is that something that we should contemplate now? Well, what does acceptance mean? And I think it's a challenging question for us, because much of the meditation practice is the cultivation of that quality called equanimity, which really is another way of saying total acceptance, non-judgmental observation of your experience without interference. That's equanimity. And it's a practice we cultivate in order to achieve some peace in our own hearts when we feel like we're pulled back and forth between the two poles of liking and disliking, of avoiding pain and wanting pleasure. And the pain is not only physical or directly emotional, but the pain may be, we see some violence and it makes us hurt or angry or shocked or upset. That's pain as well. So what does it mean to accept it? So I wanted to read a passage from Suzuki Roshi from his book, Zen Mind Beginner's Line, before I get to the other thing I want to read. And I want to look at this and I think he addresses it in this passage, so I'd like to share it with you. And it's in the chapter near the end it's in the section of right understanding. So right understanding, which is one of the Eightfold Path, the right understanding, and the chapter is called Readiness Mindfulness. The important thing in our understanding is to have a smooth, free-thinking way of observation. We have to think and observe things without stagnation. Stagnation means like you're just stuck. Stagnation means like you're stuck. You're just always seeing it in the same way. That's stagnation. We should accept things as they are without difficulty. Our mind should be soft and open enough to understand things as they are. When our thinking is soft, it is called imperturbable. Imperturbable means like it's not disturbed. Imperturbable thinking. This kind of thinking is always stable. It is called mindfulness. Thinking which is divided in many ways is not true thinking. Concentration should be present in our thinking. This is mindfulness. Whether you have an object or not, your mind should be stable, and your mind should not be divided. This is Zazen. So, in this passage, there's one other I'll share with you that's related to this. In this passage, we see an important description of the state of mind of Zazen, of sitting meditation, of that focus. That there's concentration, that's important. So you're not like all over the place. And that's a cause for inner stress, is having a scattered attention. When everything's pulling you in a different direction, that's stressful. Okay? It's overstimulation. Concentration leads to calm. Now, not concentration on everything. I mean, you can be concentrated on a horror movie. It's not going to create calm, right? So wise concentration, you're concentrating on the right object. And the object is what you have at hand in your mind. But he said there's another aspect to the mind here. It's not just concentration. It's soft. You know, it's soft. That's nice. It's a really nice adjective there for that mindfulness. Because we tend to think of concentration as hard. Like study hard for your exams, you know? Like pay attention to what I'm saying. And it's kind of like a laser beam. So we think of concentration like a light, like a thin light pointing at something. But concentration in this description is more like a candle. It's soft, it's the candlelight. Sometimes when you light a candle in a dark room, you can see much better. You have a different type of focus. The concentration is gentle, but it's there. So that's the sort of description here of that soft, smooth candlelight. You know, that smoothness is the type of concentration that he's pointing to here. And I think that's a very helpful description of it. So when you notice that your awareness on your object, be it pleasant or unpleasant, is hard, and it's hard because it's sort of judgmental, and the hardness makes you either want to push it away or hold on to it, remember to relax your mind and invite in that softer approach, which is an openness, that openness. Now, what is that openness, that open, smooth approach? So I want to explore that a tiny bit. If anyone has anything you want to say, please. This is not like a set thing. So the other thing I want to say here is this. Trying to explore the state of mind that is that soft concentration, which is a combination of a sort of an oxymoron. The soft concentration, you know, terms we don't usually connect with each other. But that exactly is a description of mindfulness. If mindfulness is hard, you won't be able to maintain it. But if it's, you know, just soft, it won't really discriminate and pay attention. It has to have concentration and softness. So he goes on here in another collection of his talks, Not Always So. Okay? And he says, if we have a generous, big mind, and that's like the soft, relaxed, open mind. If we have a generous, big mind, and we have a strong spirit of practice, and there's no need to worry. Dogen emphasized a simple life. Without expecting anything, we just practice our way. Many students asked how it would be possible to support the temple or group without any plan. And he said, if it becomes difficult to support our temple, we will think about it. But until then, it is not necessary to think about it. Right? And that is great advice that Dogen gave his students. So Suzuki Roshi continues. So before something happens, it is not our way to think about it too much. In that way, we have complete calmness of our mind. So that's really helpful, actually. That's helpful advice from Dogen and Suzuki Roshi, which is basically, the future is not something you ignore. But don't think about it until you have to. Until then, it's a distraction. It's going to cause you to be unsettled. So yeah, when you need to take care of something, you think about it. But not until then. So the soft concentration is knowing when the right time is. Is it time to think about this? No, it's not. It's not time to be thinking about your plans. That's just going to cause you some anxiety. So here we have, the soft, open mind. But the concentration included in that means you won't be thinking about things until it's necessary. So there's a discriminating awareness there. What should you be doing with your mind right now? What should you be thinking about now? This is a question we can ask ourselves. And even before we ask what we should be thinking about, the type of practice that you can invite into your day over and over and over again, it's not necessarily just sitting in meditation. That's fine. But it's just the more basic question. What am I paying attention to right now? Like, where is my mind? Where is my mind right now? In this moment, where is my mind? Often you'll catch yourself thinking about things that you actually wouldn't choose to if you had a choice. You wrote a list of topics to think about. This would not be on that list. But you won't even notice that choice unless you step back for a moment and ask that fundamental question. What am I paying attention to? And then, is it what I want to be paying attention to? Is it beneficial? Is the energy spent in this concentration practice beneficial to my life and others' lives? Because whatever you're paying attention to, you're expending concentration. So it becomes a practice of concentration. Am I using this energy wisely? Much of the time, our thoughts are an unwise use of that energy. Just notice that, that's all. Just notice that. The soft approach in the beginning of this practice is just simply to notice where your mind is. And when you notice it, you just start to, choose more wisely. It's a natural thing. Because you don't want to be thinking about many things that you find yourself thinking about. Why do you not want to? Because it's not beneficial. It doesn't serve any purpose. Like what Dogen said to his students. Don't think about these plans now. There's nothing you can do about it. Even if the plans are good plans, how are we going to support this temple? His students were worrying about it. They could have had endless meetings about it, and it wouldn't have served any purpose, right? So I wanted to read a classic poem with you. And I'm going to pass it out. And there's certainly enough copies. Hopefully everybody will have one. As it's going around, I'll give you a bit of background. This is a classic poem from the 8th century of a Chinese master who was a student of the 6th patriarch, Huineng. And his name was Shítóu. And Shítóu means like stonehead. So Shítóu wasn't his actual name, but Shítóu, he was given that nickname Stonehead because for many years, 15 years, he sat on a ledge made of stone. That was like his practice. He sat on a stone ledge, and that was it. So they called him Stonehead. He lived a remarkably long life for the 8th century, 92 years. And he's the author of the Sandokai, which is called in English the identity of the relative and the absolute, which we have in our, where is it? The Sandokai on page 12. We have this here actually. And we've read this together. This is chanted, this one, the Sandokai on page 12 is chanted daily in Zen centers. And in some places also the Song of the Grass Hut, but less so. So he wrote both of them. And they were both sort of enshrined in the tradition, in the Zen tradition from Yan. He was one of the first people to actively teach not knowing, not really fully understanding intellectually what the writings were about, but trying to achieve a more existential or kind of personal understanding. One of the stories, he has a lot of koans and stories where exchanges like this, where one of his students asked him who received the teachings of Huineng, the 6th ancestor. Remember, he was the disciple of Huineng. And Shítóu said, the person who understands the teachings. And he knew it was him who received it. So the monk then continued to say, well, does that mean you received it? And Shítóu said, well, actually, I don't understand the teachings. So even though he was the patriarch and the ancestor, he was the first person to say, I actually really don't understand the teachings. You don't have many religious leaders saying that. So it's refreshing. And it became quite of a tone of the tradition that followed afterwards. Of that sense of saying, now, of course, someone can say in false humility, yeah, I don't understand it, and he's still acting like the master. But Shítóu actually meant it. He really meant that he didn't understand it. So he cut off the conversations pretty quickly. He wrote this song, or this poem, and it is deceptively simple, but it covers a lot of the important approaches that Zen offers us. So I'd like to read it with you, and I think it'll help us a bit. In terms of understanding, again, what I'm trying to understand is what kind of mind can accept and yet still be active. Now, what is the state of mind that has full acceptance and yet is acting for the good? That can hold both. So, the Song of the Grass Hut. I've built a grass hut where there's nothing of value. After eating, I relax and enjoy a nap. When it was completed, fresh weeds appeared. Now it's been lived in, covered by weeds. I'm going to read the whole thing, and then I want to look at a couple of sections with you. The person in the hut lives here calmly, not stuck to inside, outside, or in between. Places worldly people live, he doesn't live. Realms worldly people love, she doesn't love. Though the hut is small, it includes the entire world. In 10 feet square, an old man illumines forms and their nature. A Mahayana Bodhisattva trusts without doubt. The middling or the lowly can't help wondering, will this hut perish or not? Perishable or not, the original master is present, not dwelling south or north, east or west, firmly based on steadiness. It can't be surpassed. A shining window below the green pines. Jade palaces or vermilion towers can't compare with it. Just sitting with head covered, all things are at rest. Thus, this mountain monk doesn't understand at all. Living here, he no longer works to get free. He would proudly arrange seats, trying to entice guests. Turn around the light to shine within, then just return. The vast, inconceivable source can't be faced or turned away from. Meet the ancestral teachers. Be familiar with their instructions. Find grasses to build a hut, and don't give up. Let go of hundreds of years and relax completely. Open your hands and walk, innocent. Thousands of words, myriad interpretations are only to free you from obstacles, from obstructions. If you want to know the undying person in the hut, don't separate from the skin bag here and now. So, both concrete and abstract, both descriptive and instructive. This poem offers us a lot to receive. Starts interestingly enough, right at the beginning. You build a hut and the weeds appear. The weeds. Suzuki Roshi has a chapter on mind weeds. He calls it mind weeds. And mind weeds are all the distractions and the disturbing thoughts. You create a perfect place for you to practice. And what do you find? Right? The weeds grow quickly. Your practice is so good and so strong. You step outside into the world. Where do those weeds come from? All of a sudden. It's to be expected. And the reason you can the reason you can deal with it, and it's okay, is because he then says afterwards, the person who lives here calmly, not stuck to inside, outside, or in between, right? So yeah, things happen, and can you maintain that sense of non-attachment to what you're experiencing in your mind and what you're experiencing outside? How does this calmness, how do we cultivate it? Yesterday I met somebody, he was a truck driver, and he's on the road all the time. Now, I personally would find that a very stressful job, being a truck driver in Israel or anywhere. I'd find that very stressful. It's stressful for me to drive for 5 minutes here, but to be on the roads like 8 hours a day, the highways, everybody. And I asked him, his name's Muhammad, and I said to him, how do you deal? How do you deal? He's been doing this 20 years. How do you stay calm when everybody is, And he said to me, oh, I just, let them do what they want to do. That's what he said. They can just do what they want to do. Wow. That's so easy, isn't it? That's so easy. It's like, choose your battles. And this is not one of them. You just do what you want to do. You just go your way. You just go your way. These people want to honk. They want to get upset. They want to cut me in front. They want to, drive fast. Do what you want to do. It's like, that's not my, that's not my karma, basically. That's not my karma. That's your karma. And I'm going to let it be your karma. So all the people who may disturb us in our lives, can we have that attitude of what he says here, not being stuck to the inside, outside, or in between, right? I'm not stuck to what's going on in my mind. I'm not attached to what's happening on the outside. And I'm not going to be attached also to a way of relating it in between the outside and the inside. It's your karma. You got to deal with it. That doesn't mean he doesn't care. It just means he's not gonna. There's nothing he can do about it, so he's not going to take it as his stress. I found that quite a high level, and really good for a truck driver. When we go to line 15, I want to point out here, perishable or not, the original master is present, not dwelling north or south, east or west. The Buddha. Okay, the Buddha is present in every situation. Now, the original master, the Buddha mind, is present in every situation. And it's not specific to one place or one time, beautiful or ugly, on the road or in the monastery. The original master is present. If we actually were just to understand that line fully, it would change your life. To know that everywhere you go, the original master is present. What an incredible, awareness to carry. Like in every situation, the Buddha is present. Completely concealed at times. But the original master is present. That's a fantastic line. If you can somehow remember that in any situation, your true clear awareness is there. You may not access it. It may not seem apparent to you, but the original master of your life is present in every situation. That's pretty amazing. And that's why he said just a little bit further, a Mahayana, or just before that, a Mahayana Bodhisattva trusts without doubt. So the Bodhisattva trusts what? Trusts what? Trust that the original master is present. That's the trust. That your Buddha mind is there, even when you are lost in your own thoughts or your own situation. There's that deep trust that the original master is there. That's a fantastic thing. And hard to cultivate. So we see that from here, there's a real connection all the way up through the centuries to what Suzuki Roshi was writing about. When we read something like, living here, he no longer works to get free, on line 22. Sometimes we take this practice as something we have to be really, devote a lot of energy to. But the type of energy we think is not really the type of energy that they're talking about. we think of taking the same amount of time and the same type of time and energy that we put in worldly things and putting into our practice. But here is the type of energy of being able to be smooth and open and relaxed. What type of energy is relaxed energy? What type of light is soft light? This is why he writes, he no longer works to get free. So, I'll finish just by reiterating the last instruction he gives us. Meet the teachers. This is on 29. Be familiar with their instructions. So yeah, you need guidance. I need guidance. We need guidance. Okay, the teachings are there. Right? The relaxed, soft mind doesn't mean everything's just fine. We need instruction and help. Meet the teachers. Be familiar with their instructions. Bind grasses to build a hut. That means, like, do your work. You know, do your work in life. For him, it was building a hut. What is your hut? Yeah, you still got to do it. Right? And don't give up. And with all that, like, energy, the next line says, relax completely. Right? And relax completely. So we have to hold those sides of, like, working really hard to do good in this life and relaxing completely. Right? The middle way does not mean the middle point of those two. It means you devote a lot of energy and you relax completely. Okay? They both exist. There's no midpoint to them. Right? But they both exist together in harmony. Like, you know, traditionally the yin and yang of the Chinese symbol is a black and white. That harmony doesn't mean it suddenly becomes gray. Right? The harmony of yin and yang is not gray. It's the black and white forming together a circle that you can see each part. So there's the full devotion to the work of your life, and there's relaxing completely. The midpoint is not like a vacation. And so we embrace his life because in the end he says, if you want to know, like, the undying person in this hut, meaning the undying person is that true Buddha nature which exists eternally. Don't separate from this skin bag here and now. Meaning, don't deny yourself, your life. You're going to realize it in the uniqueness of your own skin bag. So if we want to find truth, it's in this body and mind, here and now. And knowing that so I'll share one ending anecdote. So just as the monks of Dogen's temple were stressed out about how they were going to support the temple, even if your mind is on something really worthy, if you don't at the same time completely relax, it's going to be harder to achieve your goals. When I found these beads, I was walking around in Chinatown in Toronto, and walked by this, looked like some sort of Buddhist. Well, it all looked Buddhist. An old table with all these beads on it. And I said, "Oh, here's some nice beads. I'll get these beads." So I pick up these beads. It's like $1. Okay, buy the beads. I'm walking with my friend. And on the very next table, there's another table of beads. But they were nicer. Nicer beads. Look at those. Why didn't I see them? Those are even better. She said, so you should get them. I'm like, no, I'm not going to get them. I got these. I'm going to deal with these beads. These are my beads now. All right. Lo and behold, we walk a block down further. It's a big Chinatown. Block down, there's like another store, of course, with their wares. And here they're like jade beads. Okay. I'm not even going to ask the price. There's no way. Not even going to look at them. But yeah, they're even nicer. It kept getting better. It kept getting better. And I said to her, there's no end to this. There's no end to this. We kept walking. And it happened with Buddhists. There was a store with Buddhists. These are nice Buddhists. Then there's another store. The whole store was Buddhists. Like Buddhists from all over the world. I'm like, wow. Look at all these Buddhists. Quite amazing. And then finally, there was like a store that was just straight from Tibet. I mean, it's just straight from Tibet. And even the guy in there was Tibetan. And those Buddhas were like the nicest. Where does it go from here? Well, next door there's a lingerie shop. Right beside the Tibetan Buddha store. Okay, we're done. There's no end to desire until you decide to relax completely and say, the original master is present. And he or she doesn't need anything right now. And that just takes a moment of awareness, and you're there.